And hello and welcome to this edition of Issues and Insights here at the Hardin County Educational Television. I'm your host today, David Dunaway, and we are here at the Kentucky Basketball Hall of Fame Museum in downtown Elizabethtown. And we're here to talk today about some of the greatest moments in basketball history. Of course, obviously it's what? Basketball season, March Madness, so what better appropriate time to do that. Now, I have with me today the Executive Director of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame, Mr. Paul Nager.
That's right. Good
got
to
it.
see you.
I got it right.
Thank you for coming. And talk about great moments in Kentucky high school basketball history. That certainly is one of them, and it certainly holds a lot of meaning for people in Hardin County, for the citizens, for the basketball fans in Hardin County, young and old. They know this tale, and we're going to hear a lot more about it later today from one of the participants in this game.
Yes, I think he's standing in the wings somewhere. But no, when most folks, anywhere I travel in the United States, say I'm from Kentucky, they say, oh, you got, basketball capital of the world, pretty much.
Sure is.
And what I think is really neat is that we have got the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame right here in Hardin County, and what better place that you've repurposed an old facility, the old Presbyterian Church here in downtown across from the old State Theater, if you're not familiar. Give me a little bit of idea how this came to be. I mean, obviously this has been something in the works for some time.
Well, David, originally the idea was to honor the great basketball players in the Commonwealth throughout history who hadn't been honored as of 5 or 6 or 7, 8 years ago. Around 2011, Coach Bevers, longtime North Hardin coach, you know all about him. He was in that game, and he'll be with us a little later. But it was him and Ken Trivett, the Kentucky Association of Basketball Coaches. They thought about, look at all these great players that aren't in a Kentucky High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame, the KHSAA, or any others. We have tremendous amount of great players, girls, guys, coaches that need to be honored. So they took the lead. They started to put together a list of who we need to induct into our Hall of Fame. And that was in 2012, was the first of the induction ceremonies, and they've had them 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 6 classes. And the idea was to get to 100 inductees for the 100th centennial celebration of Kentucky high school basketball, 1917 to 2017, 2018. Well, after the first induction ceremony, they said, we've got to get a building. We've got to have a house we can call our own and put this facility almost like similar to what Indiana has had for the last 35, 40 years up in Newcastle with the Indiana High School Basketball Hall of Fame. Well, what they came up with, the opportunity to bid out the project around the Commonwealth, Elizabethtown was the ultimate winner and gave the best opportunity.
Hub City.
and the community has embraced it so well. And I guess the renovation began 4 years ago, around 2013, and finished last summer. At the very end, we were right down to the wire, got everything completed, and we've been open since August. And as you can see, it's something special. And people around the state, people around the country who have visited have been just blown away by the beauty, just the history that goes with all these great moments and these great players and coaches.
So give me an idea of when someone comes to Elizabethtown and they're looking for this place. Do we kind of give me an idea of hours? What's the cost to come to the facility?
Well, we're open Wednesdays through Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Cost is $6 for adults, $5 for seniors, $4 for students, and our military. Children 5 and under get in free of charge. But it's a matter of getting in here. If you want a group wants to come in, we can accommodate groups. When we're closed Monday or Tuesday, we're available for meetings, meeting spaces. We have in a conference, in a small size, about 25 people we can handle in our conference room. And that's the opportunities we want to bring to businesses, but also to teams and coaches and youth sports, because one of the themes we have here running at the Hall of Fame is the moments that you dream about as a kid, as a child growing up, shooting that basketball repeatedly at the playground, at the gym, wherever you are, in your garage, against your barn, against your barn entryway when you got a hoop up there, or whatever it is. When you're playing Nerf in your bedroom, Nerf basketball, you have those moments, you have those dreams, and that's what we want to show the young kids.
Well, I look around the facility here, and of course, as folks, as we're talking, there'll be, you'll see some of the things that they're panning around to, and I look up, and there's a basketball on what looks to be like side of a barn. Well, that's where I learned to play basketball, and it was in a gravel lot. So and when it was raining, it got muddy. We played anyway.
It didn't matter, and you skinned your knees, and it didn't matter.
Oh yeah, I had many a skin day.
And if you had it near a hillside, you didn't want that ball going down over the hillside.
No, because it means a long walk back up the hill.
Exactly, and there are many instances we found of that in your personal experience. Hey, I don't need to. Let's shoot from this side. Those type of stories, but. It is a wonder. We go back through the 100 years of Kentucky high school basketball history, through the girls stop and play in 1932 to the integration period and segregation period, where the traditional black high schools, and then they get integrated in the 1956-57 season. Just an incredible story of the history and how it's tied to the Commonwealth, and how basketball is one of those pillars of meaning.
Right.
For folks from Kentucky.
So, all right. As we walk around, we're going to walk around to the other side here, and we're going to hook up with one of Kentucky's probably most well-known high school basketball coaches, Coach Ron Bevers. We're going to walk around the other side and catch up with him there. We've now moved to another section of the facility. Actually, we just moved on the other side of the wall we were on before. And if you come to this facility, it's a remarkable facility in that, as I've said earlier, they repurposed the old Presbyterian church. And the floor in here is literally a basketball floor, gym floor. And I just feel like I need to go run up and down here and go dribbling. But anyway, but we have with us now, if you're not familiar with this man, you should be, because he's probably the winningest basketball coach, if not close to it anyway, Coach Ron Bevers from North Hardin High School. My old alma mater.
Had you in the first class?
Yes, you did, and I'm going to tell a little story on him here. I was a young freshman. I wanted to play basketball, and I'm going to do a little name dropping here. Wally Johnson. And old Wally Johnson was the head basketball coach at North Hardin High School. But anyway, he said, "Donaway, you go down there and see Coach Bevers. I want you on a basketball team." I said, "All right, Coach, that's what I'll do." So it came time for tryouts, and me and my friends were all in there, running up and down the court, dribbling, whatnot. And of course, he lined us all up on the bleachers. He said, "All right." First, he looked at me and said, "Dunaway," said, "you're tall enough, but you're too slow." My problem is I'm still too slow. And I've kind of shrunk a little bit. So, but anyway, but I always had those fond memories anyway, being a part of basketball anyway, no matter what the situation. It's one of those things when you're a kid and you want to try it, you do your best. But when you got coaches that help you along like he has, and he went on to become head basketball coach. How many years at North?
38 years.
30 years, my goodness. And about how many wins did you have and all of that?
A little over 800.
800 wins, my goodness. That's a lot. That is a lot. That's why you're one of the winningest basketball coaches in the state of Kentucky.
You're talking about kids not making the team. That is one of the most difficult days or weeks of the year, and your heart goes out to them. But it's at some point in time, reality sets in, and you got. And I've had some kids that didn't make it, and you come back the next year. You got to work harder. Give you another shot next year.
Yep.
And a couple of them done it along the way, but that's the unpleasant part of coaching. One of them.
Yeah.
Which is more difficult to handle, Coach? That week of tryouts and the finality of a kid maybe not making and not ever being able to wear a team jersey, or that last game of the season when you got to take that jersey off for the last time. What's tougher?
I think it depends on the individual. They're both difficult to deal with, but it's reality. That's the way life is.
Now, speaking of individuals, I know you've had quite a few folks come through your program and went on to bigger, better things, like Robbie Valentine, for example. I've known Robbie for years, and so he was one of your folks, wasn't he?
Robbie's was one of the very first kids that we had a lot of good players, but Robbie was at a little higher level. The first time I ever saw Robbie was about 5th or 6th grade. He was out at the baseball park, and he was taller than everybody else, and he was walking backwards, kicking gravel on the umpire. They just got beat in the baseball game. I said, who is that kid? He's one of those Valentine boys. He'll never amount to anything. But Robbie proved some of those guys.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And now he's gone on, carried on. He has the Robbie Valentine summer camp for kids, and which I think is a great thing. So you, as a coach, you don't know when you're coaching these kids what they turn out to be later on in life, and I'm sure that's probably a proud moment for you.
You know, I've had lawyers, doctors, airplane pilots. We had just about every walk of life. I got a kid now that's a Secret Service agent for President Trump. And
wow.
I'm not going to mention his name and what all he does. It's all secret, but he's about 6'8" guy. He can't 6'8" or 9". He can't hide anything.
So tell me about some of the most memorable moments as far as state tournament, because we're in the season now of Sweet 16 on high school basketball. What are some of the things that goes through a coach's mind, particularly? But I know it's one thing when you're playing regular season games, but when you finally do make it to state, what's some of the things that you have to deal with, and what's some of the thought processes going on there?
You know, our school it was made up of Rineyville and Vine Grove. Rineyville went to the state back in the 40s 3 times, and Vine Grove made it once. But when I got there, we had never been to the state tournament, that end of the county. That school had never been. And to win the first, the most memorable time, I think, is the first the first regional championships that you win and you get to go. And most people, the first time they go up there, they don't do very well, and we followed suit. But the second time we got to go, we got to the state finals and had a really good shot of winning the thing. We beat Bryan Station in the first game of the state tournament that year. People when we talk about us losing, if they were ranked number 1, we were ranked number 2 in the state that year. We played them twice. We played them in Memorial Coliseum in December. They were ranked number 1. We were ranked number 2. We beat them, and the rankings stayed the same until the last week of the season. And so they were actually ranked number 1. We were ranked number 2. And but that was some of the most memorable moments that trip.
Plus, too, and I've heard this said, that when you go from, say, just a regular gym to, say, like Memorial Coliseum or Rupp Arena, it's the big dance, isn't it? I mean, that's kind of plays the nerves on your players.
It's very difficult, I'm sure, for kids to deal with, and it's very difficult for coaches to deal with. It's just it's a different environment there for sure.
So, did you do any kind of prep to say, hey guys, once you'd been before and then came back in subsequent seasons? I mean, was there anything that you did anything different?
Well, along the way, you understand, you understand a little bit better how to prepare the kids. But still, when they walk out on the floor for the first time, it's all the preparation. They've got to just sort of figure it out themselves. But it's a different experience.
We played earlier. We started the program out with the audio from the game you had between Laurel County and you all, and it was kind of a squeaker. Would you want to give us a little background on that? What happened there?
Well, we played them already, and we played them in the finals, the LIT, and we beat them on a Hail Mary pass, a long pass. We beat them, so we knew going into the game it was a tough game. They had a bunch of good kids, and one guy told me that in Eastern Kentucky, And now, I'm not knocking on anybody. I wish I could have done that, but they have a lot of 18, 19-year-old kids playing, and they're a little bit. And that's what somebody told me. They had four 19-year-old kids playing, and we had 17-year-old kids playing. So it's a little bit different. And that's part of the rules. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I started trying to do that. Go down to the hospital and tell them, hold your kid back. Starting when he's 7. Give him an extra year.
There you go.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah. Well, you have the maturity level, between those two age groups. So, I mean, I'm sure it does make quite a bit of difference.
It really does.
I want to talk a little bit about the game with Whitney County, but there's a little bit of a story you was relating to earlier.
Oh, with South Laurel, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, with the shot heard round. What were the events leading up to? Right as you got, that opportunity to, who had the ball? How did you get it out of bounds? All of that. What were the events that led up to those final seconds?
The score was tied, and they were going for a last-second shot. And Marvin Watts was a tremendous defensive player, one of the best ever played at North Hardin. And he put some pressure on the guard, and the guard was just dribbling around out there trying crazy. And then I guess he was trying to get to the sideline to call timeout. I don't know. But as he got to the sideline, he kicked the ball out of bounds. So there's only 2 or 3 seconds left on the clock. And we had it side out of bounds right near midcourt. And you'd think the odds were in your favor. And
did you at least get a shot?
Yeah, you're probably going to get a shot. You want to get it in bounds and maybe play for overtime.
Honestly, back in 1982, you would practice. Because that was my year when I was playing. We would practice 5 seconds left.
Exactly.
There weren't many teams that would practice a 3 or 2 second play to go a long way to make it, because we just hadn't seen that type of part of the game develop yet.
Yeah, we had a play set to run. The kid made a bad pass, and they intercepted it in their back court. And you think, well, if that's going to happen, it'd be okay. And then kid caught the ball, took I can't remember when he took a dribble, but he took 2 steps and released the ball, and it went in. And people saying, did he walk? Film says he did. But it wasn't called, so he didn't walk.
We've got that on the film. When you sit here in the bleachers at the Hall of Fame, Dave, we have a video on the state tournament, and that is part of the legend of the state tournament.
So if you want to see it,
of kids,
come to the Kentucky Basketball Hall of Fame, and you pay your $6, whatever it is.
Well, in March,
come on down.
In March, you got all of March. We're doing our March Mania. It's all free.
Oh, is it?
Due
cool.
to a generous benefactor for Hardin County. We have a special with the News Enterprise and an anonymous donor who said, in March Mania, we'll let them in free. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Now, I know we're getting a little short on time here, but did you ever get thrown out of a game?
I got asked to leave about, I think 3 times.
Oh, really?
3 times that I remember in my career. And a lot of people thought I got thrown out a whole lot more than that, but that was 3 times.
In 38 years, that's not bad at all.
That's pretty good
record, was it?
That's pretty good percentage.
But twice I got thrown out, and the referee didn't understand the rules completely. He called a technical on me, but he didn't report it to the scorebook. That makes it official. And I told one of them, I said, you got to go put that in the scorebook. And he said, so you sit down and shut up. So get out. No, he said, get the hell out of here. Get out of here. so I called.
Referees don't talk like that, do they?
I called the commissioner, and we had a little conversation. And he said, well, okay, I'll check it out. And both times I got reinstated with that. Said that again. I wasn't trying to embarrass the officials or anything. I just part of the game. Very sort of an emotional kind of guy. And sometimes your feelings, you wear them on your cufflinks,
Yeah. Never did throw a chair, did you?
No. I never threw a chair.
Okay, good.
I never choked a kid. I fussed at them a lot.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
No bodily harm.
Well, let's do a little recap here. Give us the rundown again of your times and the days you're open.
Wednesdays through Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And if you call the Hall of Fame ahead of time and you want to make an appointment to schedule a group event or a group outing on a Saturday, or even on one of the days we're not here, on Monday or Tuesday, a family event, a team party, those types of things, a birthday party, 11 to 6, Wednesday through Saturday.
Okay.
And you'll love what's in here because the history is so great. I look right off camera here at the 1954 Ionized State Championship trophy, and
wow,
it's something special all the way around. Yeah.
Do you have any parting remarks?
You know, people ask all the time how the state tournament, and he had to correct for a little bit. It was a couple missteps there a little bit, but I was on a trip with Charlie Thurman and a couple other guys down to Central City to Central City, Kentucky, to see Corky Withrow, a high school All-American, and read about him.
This is how the Hall of Fame began.
I read about it, and you know, I'd followed basketball since that time, and I saw an opportunity to meet him. He was sort of excited about it, and on the way down there, I was told the guys, Charlie Thurman was riding in the car with me, or he was driving the car, and I said, you know, I've never met a Hall of Famer, I don't guess. He said he's not in the Kentucky High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame, and so sure enough, he wasn't. So we got back, and I started doing some research on it, and I came up with probably 50 to 75 players.
Wow.
That should have been in. But what happened, the KHSAA moved from just basketball and football to all sports. So they didn't have room to put rather 8 or 10 coaches in at a time, maybe 1 or 2. And so I was going to be the president of the Coaches Association that year and talked to Ken Trivett. And I told him about it, and he said, well, you do some research on it. You prove to me that we need to have a Hall of Fame, and we'll have it. And a year later, I showed it to him, and our Coaches Association voted on it and gave us some money, and it started right there. It was sort of a you know, grassroots type of approach that we took to it.
And I'll tell you what was really special. We were up at the Boys Sweet 16. We had a fan fest there. And we had a display there for the Hall of Fame, and Corky Withrow's nephew, coincidentally, his nephew and his grandnephew both came up to us, and we were talking with him, and met several other Hall of Famers who came down to take a little visit and then do an interview. So it was something special being up there the first 2 days of the state tournament, not just to see some terrific basketball, but to hear these great stories from these fine coaches and players.
And you know, he has worked awfully hard here. He's got a lot of people in the community involved in coming in and volunteering and helping out with it, and he's done a tremendous job. I just hope that we can continue on with the same way.
It is, like you said, it's something special here. It's a beautiful facility. Even if you're not a basketball fan, it's really neat to come in here and look around. And matter of fact, you might even find some names you recognize too from days gone by. So, Paul Nager, Coach Ron Bevers, thank you all so much for being with us today.
Thanks, David.
Our pleasure.
I'm your host, David Dunaway, for this edition of Issues and Insights. Thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see you next time.